Hello, listeners, and thank you for listening to this podcast. Today, we are going to be talking to a lady called Sarah, and the subject that we're going to be discussing is offshoring. So, firstly, Sarah, thank you very much for your time. I know you're very busy during the lockdown period, so we're very grateful for you coming on the call.
No problem, I'm happy to.
Thank you very much. So, as a bit of an introduction to the listeners, could you just tell us, please, a little bit about yourself, your role, and the company that you work for?
Yeah, so my name's Sarah. Hello, everybody. I work for a company called AMP Rose, and essentially when we was set up back in 1978, it was machine builders, so process, packaging solutions, and it was all for confectionery, chocolate, snack industries, things like that. So it was all machines that are going to make sweets or wrapping chocolate bars, crisp packets, all the good stuff. Um, and so it's usually new machines, rebuilt machines, we'll refurb machines. At the minute, about 80% of our products are exported to more than 80 countries worldwide. So actually only 20% is in the UK, the rest is all over the world. More so recently as well, we've got into automation.
Yeah.
So obviously a lot of AI is coming into the world nowadays. So all the robots and providing assembly lines and yeah, so we've just kind of gone into a little bit more of that, moving with the times, if you like.
Brilliant. Sounds really interesting. And your role is within procurement within the company, Sarah?
Yeah, that's right. I'm the commercial buyer there, so focusing at the moment mainly on the commercial side of it. We've got quite a small department for purchasing. There's just three of us in there, so we do all tend to get stuck in and help each other out with everything. But yeah, my main focus at the moment is on the commercial side of things.
Okay. And I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but when we met at a networking event last year, you mentioned that you've been involved in an offshoring project. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
You remember well?
Thank you very much. So can you just give us a little bit of information and background around that and maybe why offshoring was considered as an option?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was about 25 years ago, around 1994, 1995, AMP India was set up. So um, at the time, we had quite a lot of customers that were in India, and we was paying about 50% duty. So just for example, if we sold a machine for 100 grand, it was
Yeah.
costing 50 grand just to deliver it. So the more and more we was kind of dealing with India, the more and more it started to seem like a good idea to basically provide a local service for them and try and get rid of these export charges we was having to pay, and was thinking if we can build the machine for exactly the same cost, we're still going to save 50 grand because we haven't got those fees to pay.
Yeah, understand. Makes sense. And obviously something like that is a massive project and something that wouldn't be done without a lot of research. Can you tell us about the checks that maybe had to be done prior to offshoring happening?
Yeah, so it was definitely a very big decision and one that wasn't taken lightly. I think a lot of it was to do with customer base.
Yeah.
Cost was obviously a factor in it because it's always going to be a factor in everything, but the location was chosen actually for a number of reasons. So again, customers being one of them, but with India being a British colony, they have a very, very strong engineering background, um, trained by the British. There's loads and loads of engineering schools out there. The population growth is hugely greater than our little old town. I think at the time when this happened, it was about 16 to 18,000 population just in our town, which obviously you can imagine in comparison to India.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just no comparison. And India had a very their domestic market was really, really growing.
Yeah.
So everything just kind of seemed to tick all the boxes, and yeah, so then the decision was made, and yeah, off we went over to India. There was a lot more people as well. There was a few big names that were also on their way out there. You know, more and more people were beginning to look at offshoring and seeing the benefits from it. So
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like a pretty obvious choice, really, when you explain like that. So India seemed like a really, really good location.
Yeah.
And whilst India has the positive things and the advantages that you've mentioned there, did you or did the people involved in the project face any challenges with regards to offshoring in India?
Lots and lots of challenges. I think obviously there was a long time to establish and get set up. There was a lot of money that was spent as well. I mean, one of our directors actually relocated over there. He was there for 3 years. It was with his family, obviously getting it all set up. And
Wow.
it was literally turned up to an empty factory. There was no electricity, no phone lines. It was literally building from scratch.
Wow, that's some commitment from the director as well to go out there and actually do that.
Absolutely. So it was we had to build a supply base from scratch. Obviously, didn't to an extent we already had some people that we knew out there, but there was always more local supplies that we needed to go tackle, and they just decided the easiest way to do that was to go out there and do it. You know, there's only so much you can do remotely. Well, this year's proven quite different.
Yes.
Um, so, but there was building a workforce from scratch as well. So there was lots of hiring, lots of firing. You know, there was all the usual processes of setting up a new business.
Yeah.
One of the other biggest challenges was actually purchasing from local suppliers because there was a big misunderstanding when it comes to quality. So
Yeah.
here we send out a drawing to our suppliers, sorry, and they'll obviously make what we need them to make to the drawing, to the specification, and send it back. 9 times out of 10, it's absolutely fine. Maybe a few tweaks need to happen here and there. But
Yes.
over in India, it was completely different. It wasn't as simple as send a drawing and make that. And we had a lot of quality issues
Right.
to start with. So you really have to go into detail with them of what your expectations are. And off the back of that, we do actually now have what we call vendor development engineers. And their job is solely to just continuously be on the road, working with the suppliers, educating them on our expectations, and just making sure that they're keeping that quality where we need it to be.
So I guess that really shows the importance as well of communication within procurement, the fact that you really need to have that sort of collaboration with your suppliers to make sure that the quality is where you need it to be.
Absolutely. And I think it'd be ignorant as well to think that we could just go over there and everything would work just as it works in the UK because it's just completely different.
Yeah, I mean, culturally, ethically, lots and lots of differences. And with relation to that, are you aware of any ethical or cultural differences that were flagged up, and if so, how were they managed?
So, when it comes to that, there was obviously we had to do some research on terms of market rate for people because we didn't want to fall into that trap, and we are actually paying more than the market rate for the people that are employed there. They've got really good working conditions, which obviously is easy for anyone to say, but I think one of the things that does reflect on that is that we do have a lot of staff at the AMP India that have been there for quite a number of years. So they've obviously stayed there. We've
Yeah.
supplied everybody with PPE, which was all very new to them. That was a whole different education for them of having to, this is the PPE that you need to wear. Funny story, actually. One of the director told me that he issued safety boots to all the staff, and the next day, only about half of the workforce turned up wearing the boots. The rest were still in their sandals and flip flops, and they'd said to him like, "Where's your boots? I've given you the safety boots," and they was keeping them for best.
Oh, so again, classic cultural difference there. Then they hadn't really appreciated the importance and the fact that the employer was trying to look after them and keep them safe.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. They was just thinking, I'm going to save these boots for someone's wedding or whatever. So yeah, that he said that was yeah, quite a difference there. Obviously, getting them to wear the PPE or to appreciate why they're wearing the PPE as well.
Yeah.
Well, it certainly wasn't to make them look good. Yeah, it was more about keeping them safe. But again, completely different world, and it was something that yeah, I suppose a lot of the challenges that they had was challenges that probably wouldn't have given a second thought and not realised would have been a challenge.
Yeah, yeah, 'cause things that maybe in the UK we just take for granted, and haven't really got the appreciation that when we go over to India, some of the things that we just do without even really thinking are completely poles apart from what they're used to.
Yeah.
I understand. And lastly, Sarah, how's it going now? Obviously, there was a lot of research went into it, and your director went out there for 3 years. Is the offshoring still working? Is it something that's still going ahead in 2020?
It is. So we do still make machines. India have actually added quite a few other products to the range in over the last 25 years it's been open. And funnily enough, so components ended up being a bit of an offspring of it, and it's just grown massively from there. So when it very first started, it was complete machines that we was building and sending out. And now probably 70% of the business is literally just supplying parts and spares. So in a way, it was a kind of a complete accident and something that just naturally came with it. And then now kind of flip it on its head. Majority of it is literally, 70% is now supplying parts. And we actually export from India all over the world as well. It's not just Indian customers.
So it's really evolved then to be sort of a global operation then, which is great, involving loads of people in the supply chain.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's profitable now. It's been profitable for the last 20 years, and so yeah, it was definitely a good move. It's changed and matured and started going down different routes, but I think businesses do that naturally. But yeah, still going really well.
Oh, that's really good to hear. Well, thank you very much for that, Sarah. I know you're a very busy lady and working from home at the moment with all your various projects for AMP Rose. But sincere thanks on behalf of CIPS and the Knowledge team for your time, and the information you've shared with us this morning has been really insightful and really useful. So thank you very much indeed.
You're very welcome. I've enjoyed it.
Thanks a lot, Sarah. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.